is the academic part of that sending out. And it's predicated on the archetype of elders sending out their disciples. In those archetypal stories of old, when people wanted to prepare themselves for a life of service, they would go to the desert, or they would go to the woods, and apprentice themselves to the elders who stayed there. When the elders deemed them ready, they would lay hands upon them, send them out with a blessing. That's what we do for you today. When we place the academic hoods over you, it's our way of laying hands. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing someone who doesn't really need introducing. Eventually became a missionary to Texas. He's left his mark. He's well-traveled, spending many days on the road before the pandemic grounded him. He and I traveled to Oblate meetings all around the world together, including a trip to Cotabato City in Mindanao in the Philippines. The driver that picked us up at the airport told us, he said, "Look, I'm sure everything will be fine, but if you get kidnapped, just tell them you know June Mercado, and they will let you go." That was one time when Ron's name could not get us out of trouble. Few people I know carry a concern for the poor better than Ron Rolheiser. You've heard him say it many times, and I believe it's from Jim Wallace. It's not good news unless it's good news for the poor. No one gets to heaven without a letter of reference from the poor. You find this concern woven throughout his many writings and in his public speaking. Ron was asked to talk to the faculty about writing and how you gain that discipline. And he told them, that someone said, I don't remember who it was he quoted this from, but he said, if you think your writing is not good enough, lower your standards. This is it. That's the way things get started. It takes work to get it into final form. And Ron puts in the work. He's known for terrible jokes, most of them stolen from someone else. A favorite that the faculty remembers is his one about Santa Claus. What language does Santa Claus speak? North Polish. I told you it was terrible. He's active in ecumenical circles, especially in promoting the study of spirituality in other Christian traditions. And he sees spirituality, the lived experience of God, as a means of interfaith dialogue.
Flying. It was a long flight, and him and some other men were having drinks, were standing in the aisle, and they were sharing about their work. And they asked each person, who do you work for? So one person said, well, I work for ExxonMobil. The other said, I work for Johnson & Johnson. Someone said, I work for Hewlett-Packard. When they got to Tom, Theology said, who do you work for? And Tom said, I work for Yahweh and Son. My apologies to the Jewish community. We're not supposed to pronounce that word, but it's a good line. We're working for Yahweh and Son. You know, there's different genre of commencement addresses. If you were undergraduates graduating, I'd give you a very different message. There you're starting your career, you're building up, you're going to graduate school, but you're different. All of you have other degrees, and now you are prepared and you're being sent out to the world. And so I want to give you just 3 counsels, 3 bits of advice about going out to minister in God's name as working for Yahweh and Son. And they sound simple, but they're very complex and they're very excitingly demanding to do. So what are the 3 counsels? The first one is, try not to make God look stupid. I'll talk about that. Secondly, risk God's mercy. And thirdly, stay there for a long time. Take the first one. Try not to make God look stupid. Before I came here for 12 years, I taught at the Theological Institute in Edmonton, and I taught the MDiv course in the Theology of God. So for 12 years, I taught this course, Theology of God. And I taught the normal syllabus, what's to be taught there. But I would try to give an overarching message over that. And I'd always tell students, you're going out to preach, to teach, to minister. Try not to make God look stupid, above all else. What's meant by that? This. Every homily you give, every pastoral practice you do, every one of them reflects on a theology of God and shows an image of God to the world. So let me risk a couple of bad examples as illustrations. Sincere, well-intended, bad. A couple of years ago, I was in New York City on a Sunday. So I thought, Sunday in New York City, go to St. Patrick's Cathedral. It's the cathedral for America. And I'll just say bluntly, the homily was awful. There was no other way of putting it. So the priest, very sincere, he said this. It was the text that we just had last Sunday. I'm the vine, you're the branches. So you know what that means? It means this. The Roman Catholic Church is the vine, and the Mass is the branches. But the idea is, if you don't go to Mass, you're committing mortal sin, and you will go to hell when you die. Then he said, because it's a harsh teaching, you don't want to hear it, I'll say it again. City, a young priest called jurisdiction. So you're already ordained and so on. But the bishop wanted you to do an examination called jurisdiction, which was usually done by the moral theologians in the seminary. And it was how you would hear confessions. So they would give you test confessions. And I was examined by 2 moral theologians, one who later became an archbishop. And afterwards they told me, said, we're going to pass you, but with an asterisk. They said, we're going to pass you, said, but really, they said, we worry about you. You're going to be too gentle in confession. That's it, and you're not doing anybody a favor. And the man who later became an archbishop said, remember, the truth sets you free. Don't ever compromise that. So they passed me, with an asterisk. Well, the very next year, or that summer, I said to him, Leo, if you had your priest, just now retired, he's 85, but he spent the last 25 years of his life as a missionary to the Dene and to the Cree tribes in northern. After a while, he decided this was not by accident. And he went to see one of the elders. He said, every time I make an appointment, they don't show up. They break the appointment. The elder burst out laughing. He said, of course they're not going to show up. He said, the last thing they need is a white man organizing their lives for them. He said, why should they show up? My brother said, what should I do? He said, well, I'll tell you what you should do. He said, first of all, don't make an appointment. Just show up. They'll be nice to you. He said, but he said, more important, he said, stay here for a long time. Stay here for a long time. He said, then they'll trust you. He said, they're testing you. They are unconsciously testing you. Are you a missionary or a tourist? They're unconsciously testing you. Are you a missionary or are you a tourist? Our fidelity, to stay, and to never leave, not just personally, but to never leave emotionally, and just every time it's not going our way. I was a seminarian when Martin Luther King got shot.
Thank you. I feel much better now. I appreciate that. Well, Ron, in the name of the province, I want to thank you for your tremendous generosity, not only to Oblate School of Theology, serving as president for 15 years, but for your writing, your speaking, for serving as president, for the great work that you have done here. I often talk to people in the Midwest because that's the area of the country where I'm from, and they're very familiar with Ron's speaking, his retreats at King's House in Buffalo, Minnesota, and King's House in Belleville. And it never failed when I difficult theological concepts in spirituality, in theology, and through
Announce the creation of the Rolheiser Endowment for Spirituality. This endowment will hold at least $6 million to fund 2 chairs in spirituality and scholarships for students. It will fund spirituality programming in perpetuity, keeping internationally known faculty and students coming to OST. I'm even more excited to say we have the first donation to support this endowment. To IRET. Mr. Seitz sought to honor his cousin, his wife, and Father Ron by establishing this scholarship.
OMI, vicepresidente de Asuntos Académicos y decano de Oblate School of Theology, certifica que los candidatos han completado sus programas respectivos. Asimismo, él presentará a los candidatos para los grados conferidos.
We now, with pride and pleasure, present the candidates for, and therefore let me ask first for the candidates for the Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry to please rise. These persons have completed all the academic requirements. Congratulations, gentlemen. This person has completed all academic requirements for the Master of Arts in Spirituality degree and will be presented the academic hood by Dr. Cliff Knighton, who is the director of that program, and he will receive his diploma again from Dr. Woodward and Dr. Studer. John Michael Farrell. Initially, I attended the Oblate Lay Ministry Institute along with my wife, Annabelle. Together, we are putting what we learned into practice at St. Mark the Evangelist Parish in San Antonio as facilitators of the rite of Christian initiation for adults. The LMI program was also my motivation for pursuing the Master of Arts in Spirituality. I look forward to seeing where God will lead me as a worker in His vineyard. I want to thank my advisor, the library faculty and staff, and my thesis reader, Michael W. Higgins, and thesis director, Father Ron Rolheiser, for their much appreciated assistance. Congratulations, Michael. We're still not there yet. I would like to now ask the candidates for the Master of Arts in Theology degree to please stand. These persons have completed all the academic requirements for the Master of Arts in Theology. They will be receiving the dual degree, and so though you will receive 2 degrees and 2 diplomas, you will receive only 1 hood. So you will come forward later. But let me first announce your names. The first is in absentia, and that is Lester Antonio Zapata. Present with us, Samuel Joseph Moll of the Diocese of Fort Worth, Joseph George Moreno in absentia, I believe, also from the Diocese of Fort Worth, as well as Lin Hai Nguyen, also from Fort Worth. Finally, Brian Doherty of the Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer will also receive the Master of Arts in addition to the Master of Divinity. Now, would the candidates for the degree of Master of Divinity please stand? These persons have completed all the academic requirements for the Master of Divinity degree, and they will receive the academic hood from Father Bob Wright, the program director. Melanie B. Iglehart Hammonds from the class of 2020. In August 2020, Melanie was appointed to be Director of Women for the Texas Covenant Assembly of Churches. She is over the women's ministry for the jurisdiction, which includes all Texas regions. She is now the coordinator for the Sankofa Institute and facilitates the formation class and is pursuing her Doctor of Ministry degree here at Oblate School. And she hopes to continue working with the Sankofa Institute for African American Pastoral Leadership and for the School of Theology. Astrid Dereli from the Diocese of El Paso. Astrid was born and grew up in Haiti. His last 2 years here at OST have been a great learning experience about culture and religion. He was ordained a deacon on 16 April 2021 in El Paso. This summer, he will be doing a CPE internship at Baylor White Hospital. Astrid will also be assigned in a specific parish upon returning to El Paso and asks for you to keep him in prayer as he ministers to God's church. He hopes to continue studies in the church spirituality in the future. Friar Thomas Fetz of the Order of Friars Minor Conventual. Thomas's formation has taken him to places he never imagined, including Australia and Costa Rica, and in the process he has discovered a love of interculturality and hopes to work in a variety of cultural and linguistic settings. He will be ordained on September 18th and does not yet know where his vow of obedience will take him next. It will prove to be an adventure in any case. Undoubtedly true. Edward Joseph Gonzalez of the Archdiocese of San Antonio. I come from a hardworking and compassionate family. For my future plans, I am eager to be of service to the Archdiocese of San Antonio as a priest. Carlos A. Flores Guajardo from the Diocese of San Bernardino in California, who comes to us from Honduras. Brother Rodolfo Martinez Guevara of the Missionaries of the Holy Spirit. He is also known as Brother to be ordained in Texas. Thomas J. Jones as a Basilian scholar before coming to OST. He will be ordained a priest for Fort Worth on the 22nd of May. Paul Abraham Melgarejo for the Diocese of San Antonio. I come from a family of 5, originally from Laredo, Texas, but was raised in Jalapa, Veracruz, Mexico. I will be ordained to the priesthood on May 15th for the Archdiocese of San Antonio. As a diocesan priest, I look forward to serving the people of God, witnessing their transformation and celebrating the Holy Eucharist. As a man of God chosen by God, may I be a living instrument of Christ to everyone I come across in my new life. Praise the Lord, for his love endures forever. Oh, there he goes. Herat Mondol Herod, Missionary Oblates of Mary Immaculate. Herat is the first Bangladeshi oblate to study here at the school. Missionary Oblate of Mary Immaculate in absentia. Jason Patrick Moore, Order of Friars Minor Capuchin, in absentia. Joseph George Moreno, Diocese of Fort Worth, also a dual degree recipient from Beebe, Arkansas. Alexander is a second-generation Filipino-American and the third of 4 children. To be ordained to the diocesan priesthood for the Diocese of Little Rock, Arkansas, to St. Peter and Paul the Apostle in Lincoln, Arkansas. For memory's sake of this institution, as I always tell Father Rolheiser when I see him on campus or around town, I'm just living the dream. Royce Mark Thomas of the Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer. I am a proud lad from the beautiful islands of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. As an island guy, I value warmth, affability, and enjoying the moment. I met the Redemptorists in 2011 and started formation in 2012. I obtained a bachelor's degree in theology from St. John's University in New York. Music is my passion. I enjoy all genre of music, but I have a particular love for gospel and jazz. I hope that my love and talent for music will be an instrumental part of my ministry of spreading the good news that God is love. Brian Doherty Vaccaro of the Congregation of Most Holy Redeemer, also a recipient of the dual degree. Brian joined the Redemptorists in 2014. After graduation, he will do his pastoral experience in Tucson, Arizona, and he is scheduled to be ordained deacon in January 2022 and a priest in July 2022. Alan Lorenzo Sanchez Valencia of the Diocese of Laredo, in absentia. And finally, Song Yu, Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer, in absentia. Congratulations to all of you. Would the candidates for the Doctor of Ministry degree please rise? These persons have completed all academic requirements for the Doctor of Ministry degree. They will receive the academic hood from Dr. Wayne Cavalier, who is the director of their program. The first is a graduate from 2020, who is joining us today because, of course, she was deprived of graduation last year. Teresa Galan Bruce. I continue to work on developing program for social workers in the area of spirituality. In addition, I am providing therapeutic services for women fleeing domestic violence, as well as serving as the co-chair for the YWCA Board of Directors, whose mission is to empower women and eliminate racism and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. These values and mission parallel the theological foundation which Oblate School has instilled within me. Also a graduate from 2020, Michael John Palandro. Based in Houston, Texas, I am the founder and producer of Lectio for Life, a formational ministry that helps Christians prioritize scripture reading and the practice of Lectio Divina. In addition, I serve as a mentor coach for vineyard pastors transitioning from clerical to lay ministry. Patrick Olaleye, in absentia. Gerardo Saladar, in absentia. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Spirituality please stand? These persons have completed all the academic requirements for the Doctor of Philosophy degree in Spirituality. They will receive the academic hood from their director, Dr. John Markey. The first is a graduate from 2020, Joseph August Higgins, doctoral studies. She places her future plans in God's hands, trusting in his divine guidance. Duong Thi Hai Pham. Duong is a sister of the Lovers of the Holy Cross and is interested in spiritual direction. Her future plans are to teach at her congregation and at the Theological Institute of Hanoi Archdiocese in Vietnam. Congratulations to all of you. Out the best in their many nieces and nephews, causing each one to feel as though she or he was the daughter or son they themselves did not have. The award is given to a Master of Divinity graduate to acknowledge and celebrate his or her.
He needed a more disciplined life than the seminary offered him. And also he needed to be felt constrained by studying only English and Latin. So he went with his family to Germany to study in German and study over there in a more military setting, which would be more disciplined. Having gathered an international vision over there, he re-opted to join the Oblates. He joined us for our novitiate year and came back and then was sent to Rome. And there, after being there in his second year there, he had a premonition that Oblate School of Theology in one more year would start welcoming diocesan seminarians. And he felt a call to convert diocesan seminarians. And so he came back to OST to finish his studies. He was ordained in 1972, just in time to escape the first year of the internship program. And after 2 years of ministry, came back to OST in 1974 and started teaching. Thus began 47 years of teaching here at Oblate School of Theology, 47 and counting. Those are your grandchildren who are clapping. They were lean years when the school first started in the 70s. It was very struggling to survive. And he was one of the stable persons to be there and remain here. He taught in sacramental theology, liturgical theology, systematic theology, the Ministry to Ministers program, the lay ministry program, the doctoral program, just about in everything. He's always helped to improve students' vocabulary. Early on, one of the students drew a picture of him with Yoda trying to understand Father Hannon's words, Yoda from Star Wars. He helped welcome a young married man, Scott Woodward, as director of the LMI quite a few years ago. Nationally and locally, he's been part of the Liturgical Commission of the diocese and also helped found one of the National Liturgical Associations. He's been involved in a lot of ATS visits, Association of Theological Schools. He loves meetings. He loves going to meetings, especially faculty meetings. And so among the faculty, he's always noticed when there's a motion to adjourn, it's always him. He's the first one to motion to adjourn. He had the remarkable achievement of escaping ever being roasted at an Oblate School of Theology fundraiser, somehow for 47 years. And rather, he was honored by the Louis B. Vance Chair of Systematic Theology. Perhaps his greatest success, however, was avoiding administration, not having to be an administrator. But gifts will finally come out, and we were looking for an interim academic dean last year and spontaneously turned to him. He was well recognized by all the faculty, by all his colleagues, and respected and appreciated. He has a great knowledge of the school for the time he's been here in all of our programs. And so we say, Ken, muchísimas gracias, que Dios se lo pague, because we won't.
Please be seated. You've had such a vigorous afternoon. Thank you very much for this, and in particular, thanks to my classmate, Bob Wright. You can perhaps understand the terror that one feels when you're going to be spoken of by someone you've known since you were a teenager. But I must say that was very gentle, and I appreciate it. When I consider the things he could have said that would have entertained you, I am grateful. My very best wishes to all of you, and again, my congratulations.
The Very Reverend Luz Tudor, OMI, Provincial for the U.S. Province of the Missionary Oblates of Mary Immaculate, and Chair of the OST Board of Trustees, will now offer closing remarks and a final blessing. El Reverendísimo Luz Tudor, OMI,
for their guidance, their encouragement, their advice in helping you graduates toward this great honor. I'm very grateful to this excellent institution of higher learning for making all of this possible. It's really a tremendous gift to think about, to reflect upon the significant contribution that Oblate School of Theology, through its graduates, through its many wonderful programs, the contribution that it makes to the church in Southwest Texas, in the entire United States, and really in the entire world. I want to especially thank Dr. Scott Woodward, President, for his wonderful leadership, his dedication, his commitment to the Oblate charism, and for helping ensure that that charism continues to be imbued in all of the programs here at Oblate School. I'm also very grateful for the number of Oblates who serve as professors, who serve on the staff at OST so faithfully and make sure that that charism inspired by St. Eugene continues to be carried out in this school. I sometimes reflect upon, think about, as we have graduations year after year, how many lives you will touch by the degree, by the learning that has happened here. OST certainly makes a tremendous contribution to changing our world, to making it of OST.